Innovation really matters to Allied Command transformation because we're looking at how we are adapting the military instrument of power for that future security environment. But the technological developments that are occurring around us are occurring at a pace we've really never seen before. And if we don't innovate to try and understand how those technological changes are going to impact the alliance, then we can't respond. So we've got to innovate in order to be successful.
Just by using the military expertise, we were unable to solve some of the issues that we were facing, and so we tried to get the outreach to non-traditional actors to help us solving those issues at the not classified level.
Inspired from what's happening in the private sector and industry, we came up with the idea of the Innovation Hub as a community where people can collaborate easily.
The mission of the Hub is to bring some out-of-the-box solutions to our problems. And so we created a kind of network reaching out to academia, industry, think tanks, NGOs, non-governmental organizations, and tried to see whether those people were able to help us.
The Innovation Hub needed to be open to the public, so it's not located at the same place exactly as the NATO command, which is on the Navy base. We are outside of the base. We are actually on the campus of Old Dominion University, which is the largest local university, and it's very convenient because this place is in the middle of three of our major communities: academia, industry, and the military.
We really want to help and support the rest of the command. So our most useful tool is a pair of shoes to walk around the corridors of the HQ and ask teams, the project leaders and subject matter experts, hey, are you facing a difficulty here in your project? Can we help?
So a NATO staff with a problem would get the support from the Innovation Hub in a way that that person will be put in a community of tens, if not hundreds of people who are interested in the same problem but have different ways to tackle it.
We have to be able to keep pace in order to preserve our military edge with innovation that's occurring around us. But of course, innovation allows us to draw from a very diverse group of people from all ages, all backgrounds, and they may well have some very different thinking and perspectives which we absolutely want to hear and embrace. It's an overused saying that innovation is a culture, but I think I really mean that in ACT.
So the community of the Hub is very diverse, comes from academia, industry, retired military, members from nations' national labs.
I usually use the example of the guy sitting in the basement with popcorn and Coke and then have a smart idea. He is also part of the community. So we try to pull from everywhere.
Today, the Innovation Hub is almost 4,000 members from 72 nations, and that tells the story.
We have to realize that the most innovations, most R&D is not happening in the military world any longer. It's not necessarily the defense industry that is at the edge of everything that is happening, but very much small and medium-sized companies and startups very much have innovative ideas that we can use for security purposes.
The Innovation Hub allows the NATO command structure through Allied Command Transformation an opportunity to have a conversation with a variety of small companies that want to just see how they can help NATO.
For NATO to stay current, really needs to be out there looking at new technology as it's developing, and to help with research, to help mold it. I don't see there's any way to compete without being involved in tech these days.
I think it's really crucial, not only connecting with industry, but also to academia. Those guys, in particular the students, have a very, very broad vision on particular things that we don't have as a military.
Our students really had the opportunity to work on these cutting-edge problems and provide novel solutions and to directly to key NATO stakeholders.
Students, you generally leave this with very positive feelings. And a part of that is getting a chance to work with students from other countries that they would never otherwise meet.
All the people that work for NATO are either military or civilians, but those civilians are ex-military. And it's fascinating that when you take those issues and those problems and now you introduce them to the younger generation, that you got complete different solutions. And I think that gain is just incredible.
We are also in the NATO Innovation Network. The NATO Innovation Network is made of governmental institutions, while the Innovation Hub community is made of individuals.
Since we have 30 nations as a resource, we are stronger than solely the French Innovation Hub or the US Innovation Hub. We have that capability to be multiplying potential solutions and share them with all the NATO nations.
The more nodes in a network, the more value you get out of it. We believe we've added a lot of value to the NATO Innovation Network by bringing people together and connecting them.
And what we're now seeing is the communication is happening independently between nodes. And I think that's fantastic. That's a definition of an ecosystem.
So the Innovation Hub staff are the people who are working in our facility here in Norfolk, directly affiliated with Allied Command Transformation. First, there is the permanent staff from NATO, so military and civilians working in NATO. Next to them, we have contractors who are hired because of their specific skills that we don't have in-house, depending on what project we are working. Many of them are related to the software development. And last but not least are the academics or the students. So we work with a lot of interns and fellows from universities, on-site or remotely. So all in all, it makes 50, 60 people part of what we call the Innovation Hub staff.
The team we have down there now have really got the energy to bring that hub to life, and it's essential that we can continue to get new staff officers into this headquarters that have those skills such that we can maintain the momentum.
The idea is that we feed innovation in at a very early stage. As soon as we know the pain point of the operator, of the warfighter as we call them, then we attach an innovator, a matchmaker, to be able to actually come up with good ideas to solve that pain point.
But when that thing is done, we have to figure out what's the most efficient way to solve that problem. So in the understanding phase, we try to get as many different people as possible to get different opinions on what the problem is, how to address it, how to understand it, and how to come up with as many potential solutions as possible. And that's really the premises of open innovation. You will bring people who see the world in a different way to the benefit of NATO.
We've learned how to do open innovation by bringing specialists from outside of our industry in to look at our world from a different lens.
So from the outset, the Innovation Hub was developed as a community supported by a strong, efficient online collaboration platform.
Open online collaboration is done through a website where we can start discussion threads, where everyone has the opportunity to contribute, to interject.
So it became that free flow of information. We would post it where we had a reference doc in there too. They may comment on it, provide their view. So it was a way to start to get some internal feedback and understanding what's out there.
The online collaboration is open to anyone.
This is where we shift from open innovation to agile development.
Agile development is an approach which gives more freedom to those who are developing a solution, particularly by engaging the future users constantly during the innovation process.
Every other week, users will have a demo to tell whether or not it's still going in the right direction. The second thing is the speed of it. Everything has to happen so that the solution development is not longer than 6 months and makes that a project delivers in less than 1 year.
As part of the solutions that we try to develop pieces of software, experimental pieces of software, we call them minimum viable product or demonstrators, depending on the level of sophistication.
The important thing about software development is the notion that it is never done. It very much is incremental and spiral development where you come back to the same start but in a higher level. It may be a 40% solution, but at some point together with the operator we will have something that is viable.
But it gives enough information to inform requirements that eventually will deliver that capability in the future.
It's also been a way to prove we can do this within NATO. We can build our own software and it's delivered in a much shorter timeline.
The standard waterfall, programmatic approach to developing capability might work if you're developing runways and infrastructure, but if you're developing something which is a really non-tangible, such as software, then using a different methodology with innovative technology and agile technology is a much more successful way to go forward.
The Chief of Staff of our community here uses the I3 initiative, the initiate, innovate, and imagine kind of model. And in that, we create products that we can hopefully steer into a capability in the future. I help as a software application that handles large amounts of data to help the crisis management communities come up with decisions of the best way to move NATO equipment into an area that is either devastated by some crisis, whether it be natural or man-made. Texas is an intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance application primarily directed to supporting Allied Command Operations AirCom Division to help them process large amounts of data, to help them provide their commanders with quick decision-making opportunity on the intel that they have been receiving.
So it really streamlines and makes everything faster in the field of exchanging intelligence information in the air environment. So the Cognition project is one of the latest priorities that we have started to address.
How do you build resilience in your population against fake news or against hearts and minds operations? How do you build resilience against being manipulated?
There's so much to discover and to learn from industry and academia.
DTEX means Disruptive Technology Experiment. And the purpose of such an experiment is to inform NATO about new technologies, new concepts, new capabilities that could be useful in the future.
So what happens during a DTEX is you have a scenario that has elements that are both realistic and futuristic. You're basically gaming out to see how well these technologies fit in as a solution.
The DTEX produces an assessment of the solution and a de-risking of new concepts, but with the wisdom of the crowd, we get very good feedback on how good a new solution might be and how it can be used. We are just completing now a study on the question of trust in autonomous system, which was addressing the difficulty to deploy autonomous systems in our current organization because of the misperception of the users. And so we have been running a series of experiment DTEXs to assess how trust in autonomous system was actually good or not, how can it be boosted or can it be mitigated given the usage of autonomous system in military operations.
Digital Triage Assistant is a project we are running together with Johns Hopkins University. In a nutshell, it tries to help medics to get a quick diagnosis when they are facing a wounded soldier.
The Triage Assistant is basically a wearable, and the idea is that if they are injured, Digital Triage Assistant takes the individual soldier's biological metrics, and that is used as an input to the medic's decision on whether this person gets treated first, second, third, etc.
I think the digital triage assessment from the perspective of engagement with the Innovation Hub was really successful. We'd never be able to do that ourselves.
So Innovation for Defense is a program that allows classes of university students to solve one NATO problem. And they are guided by their faculty or staff and mentored by the NATO experts. So basically, the Digital Triage Assistant came out of the Innovation for Defense project. So a very good example of how students actually are solving real-life problems for NATO. So the Innovation Hub is most of all a community of people who are collaborating to solve NATO's issues. Anyone on the planet willing to help NATO is part of our human capital and can join the Innovation Hub.
And so for the future, what we would really like to do is establish a much closer engagement with innovation.
One thing that we also envision for the future is there should be local innovation hubs everywhere, so that the loop in understanding the problem and solving it would be much shorter.
My pitch to the nations, those who have not embraced developing and applying open innovation, is that it is very easy to do it, especially when you get help, and we can provide a good part of that help.
We have the ability to share all the great things that we are doing for the NATO command structure with the nations that want to help build their innovation centers. And so we make every effort to be the leading agent here for Allied Command Transformation for that effort.
We have to innovate. It's only about the scale and pace of our innovation at the moment.
We need to learn and we need to move forward together. Of course, there's still more to do, and we're really looking forward to that journey.